Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome into another edition of the JayMac podcast. So glad that you decided to join us. I have a couple of things that I want to talk to you about tonight, and I want to get your feedback on them. And remember, all you have to do to send me your feedback is to comment if you're on Twitch, if you're on TikTok, if you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, Periscope. We're just about on every social media platform known to man broadcasting live right now. So just send me your comments and I will love to see them. You can also join me live if you would like to do so. It would be via video chat. If you check in the comments, you will see a link where you can dial into the show, just like calling an old-timey talk radio show. And you can join me that way if you want to, that way as well. A lot of people don't want to do that because they have to go on video and their hair's not done. And I'm like, look at me. I got the beard going. I'm in full quarantine mode. We're all good friends here, right? I'd also love to know what's on your mind today. Ray on TikTok just sent fire. Thank you, Ray. For those of you on TikTok, I can see your comments, but because we are broadcasting on so many different platforms, I will not be able to post your comments to the screen, but I can post everybody else's comments to the screen. But that doesn't mean I can't see them. Robert Stewart on TikTok, Respect, Play by the Rules on TikTok. I do see you guys. I want to thank you for joining me. And if you see me looking around to different locations, it's because I have TikTok comments coming in over here, and then up here I have all of your other comments coming in. Please do me a favor and let me know where you are chiming in from. Where are you listening from? We have listeners from all across the country tuning in tonight. Say hello in the comments. Let me know where you are listening from, and let me know what issues are burning you up today. Are there any issues out there? I want to start off by talking about hero pay. I don't know if you've been following this story or not, but I have, and it's an important story to watch because hero pay is a microcosm of the minimum wage increase that is being debated in the House and the Senate as part of the upcoming stimulus bill. So it's a perfect opportunity to look at what an immediate increase in pay will do to jobs and what it will do to businesses. Now, if you're not familiar with what hero pay is, then I will explain that to you. This is Ray, the dialing in on TikTok from Salt Lake City. What do you think about Ted Cruz's vacation? Ray wants to know. Horrific optics. It's bad optics when AOC raises $5 million for your state and you decide to leave your state. I don't think it would have been a big deal if Ted Cruz had not gone after other representatives for leaving their state during a pandemic. So what happens is it reeks of hypocrisy. And the other thing is, I think that he should have just owned it. Instead, he just spun out of control, blaming his children. Come on. I mean, just straight up own it. Just say, look, we had the ability and the opportunity to go to Cancun and get out of here, and so we went. But let me tell you about all the other things I'm doing for the state of Texas. I've called the governor. I've talked to the president of the United States about declaring an emergency. I've done all of this stuff. Just own it. He tried to just spin out of control. And when his spin machine starts, it's just awful. It just oozes of hypocrisy. And that's what I hate to see. Oh, and Ray, turns out Ray is my daughter, Rachel. Hey, Ray, on TikTok. Never know when one of my kids is joining in. So I hope that answers your question. So I want to talk about hero pay, and then I have some really fun videos for you tonight for our Did You Know segment. So let's start off with hero pay. If you're not sure what hero pay is, this is being considered and implemented in several cities across the country. It's happening in Seattle, and it's now happening in LA. And the idea is this, that city councils believe that our grocery store workers are heroes, and they deserve more pay for working during a pandemic. How many of you are like, okay, I'm good with that, more pay during a pandemic? So how did these city councils go about getting more pay? Did they say we're going to use tax dollars? We have a tax surplus, or we're going to go into debt and we're going to add this hero pay to their current pay? No, you know that that's not how they did it. They passed a short-term law mandating that grocery stores increase their pay $4 an hour. So what they did is they said, we think you're heroes, and so because we love you so much, we're going to make your employer pay you more. And so, as I said, this is a perfect example to see how a minimum wage increase will impact jobs and how it will impact companies. Because again, I don't think that we deal with the unintended consequences. We just want to pass a law that makes us feel good about what we've done, makes us feel all warm and fuzzy inside. But the unintended consequences are far-reaching, and often those very people who we're trying to help are actually people that we're hurting. So first, this started off in Seattle. So they mandated a $4 increase. Kroger, another grocery store, said, do you know what our profit margins are? Because in the grocery store business, the profit margins are historically slim. So Kroger said, do you understand that if you suddenly make us pay more money, that we're going to have to lay people off and close stores? And the city council said, too bad. We're going to do it anyway. So what did Kroger do? They immediately closed 2 stores in Seattle. Can't keep them open. Can't do it. And now they're threatening to pay more. To lay off more. Because they can't afford it. So what did the city council do? Did they help some people? Yeah, they did. Did they help some people right out of work in the middle of a pandemic? Yeah, they did. This is the problem when you view an employer as your own social welfare system. And you don't take into any consideration their costs, their expenses, their profit margins, or anything like that. So let's go to LA now. Oh, hang on. For some reason, my live broadcast on TikTok was ended abruptly. Let's try and fix that problem here. It taxes my system a little bit when I am going out to 10 different networks at the same time. So we'll try that out. Okay. So Los Angeles now. They've been looking at hero pay for grocery store workers. So there was a study done to find out what would this do to jobs and what would this do to businesses. So that after the proposal to temporarily pay workers an extra $5 an hour for 120 days, they commissioned a study. They asked analysts to report on the economic effects of temporarily raising the grocery workers' pay. So in a February 19th report, Chief Legislative Analyst Sharon So wrote that the grocery industry is a low profit margin industry, and that the net profit margins of Kroger, which owns Ralph's and Food for Less and Albertsons, were near or below the industry average of 2.2% in 2019. Net profit margin is a measure of earnings as a percentage of revenue, according to the report. The city's analysis suggests that a spike in sales from people stockpiling grocery stores in the early months of the pandemic was temporary and didn't translate into a profitability trend. So that's one thing that the city council members were trying to say. They're like, oh no, you've been doing more sales because people have been stockpiling. Well, it turns out that that was temporary and it's not happening anymore. So what did this report prepared for the city of LA eventually show? It showed that the only way that these grocery stores would be able to handle this hero pay would be to lay off employees and close stores. So I was watching as this report came in to LA, and I'm like, surely after they see this report, they're not going to do it anyway. Well, guess what they did? They did it anyway. So they just passed it. LA County approves hero pay mandate of $5 an hour for grocery workers. So even after their own study showed that this was not affordable by grocery stores, that this would result in store closures and layoffs, they did it anyway. And this is kind of a microcosm of my problem with what happens so often with the left. First of all, they see every single employer as this cash cow that is making money hand over fist and abusing their employees in a terrible way. And we know that that is simply not the case. Then they think, well, we can add any labor burden we want, and they'll be able to handle it. They'll just magically come up with the money, and they'll be able to handle it. And we know that that's not the case. So the money's got to come from somewhere. And where is it going to come from? It's going to come out of the pockets of the people who get laid off. And is it going to help? Well, we have 2 stores so far in Seattle closed down in a pandemic. More to come. And now we're going to have grocery stores closed down in the LA area during a pandemic. Does this seem like wise policy to any of you? And again, in the face of all the facts, they just did it anyway. Now, imagine what's going to happen as they're up on Capitol Hill right now in D.C. talking about a $10 or a $15 minimum wage increase. Imagine what's going to happen to jobs. And they know it. All of the economic research that is out there clearly shows it's going to cost jobs. Now, you're really in the middle of a pandemic going to do something that increases unemployment in the name of helping out those who are lucky enough to keep their jobs? Does that seem like wise policy to any of you? To me, it's horrific policy, and it's feel-good policy. It gets out the vote policy. Oh, they care about me. They raised the minimum wage. The reality is, first of all, the minimum wage should only be a state's issue. It should be decided at a state level because economies are different in every single state. And I am not 100% against discussions for minimum wage. But if you live in a state like I do, in the state of Utah, you'll find that there are very few companies hiring at minimum wage anyway. Because in a booming economy, businesses are competing for the same employees. So you go to all of the base level companies. I saw a sign today, Taco Bell hiring $12 an hour. Our minimum wage is way, way below that. And so in places where you have a jobs market where employers are competing for the same employees, guess what happened? Wages go up. And that's why you don't want to do this on a federal level. Now, there is a discussion out there, and sometimes when I read the news stories, I can't tell if they're talking about a national wage or if they're talking about a federal wage. Because there is a discussion being had about whether or not federal employees should have a federal minimum wage. And that is wholly within the rights and the parameters of the federal government to decide what their minimum wage is going to be. And they're not under the same market forces, right? They're not under the same standards for profit and loss and those types of things. They can raise taxes to pay for their minimum wage increase. So the discussion about a federal minimum wage is very different than a discussion about a national wage. And sometimes when I read the stories, I'm like, what are they trying to do? Which one is it? And by the way, if you hear the dinging going on, my kids are texting for some reason back and forth like crazy. And I don't have, let me see if I can turn that down. It's driving me crazy. Come on, kids. Got in a text conversation. All right, maybe that will work. I don't know if you can hear it or not. But that's just me. All right. So first of all, minimum wage should be a state's issue. Okay. If they want to pass a federal employee minimum wage, that's a discussion that can be had, certainly. And we can look at that. And they have every right to decide their minimum wage. But the other thing is that this, just looking at hero pay, should be a perfect example of what happens. And legislators, they just don't care what this is going to do to employers. They just don't care how this is going to affect jobs. They care how it's going to look. They care about the appearance of it. That's what they care about. If they cared about more than that, then when you get a report that says this legislation that you're going to pass is going to cost people jobs in a pandemic, you'd back up and say, no, we need to find a different way. Now, if you want to help out grocery store workers, then you provide the program. Don't put it on the backs of the employers who are already struggling. Come on. Come on. What are your thoughts on that? Hero pay for grocery store workers? Look, if you can come up with tax dollars to do that and you feel it's worthy as a city council, fantastic. But decreasing jobs, causing people to be laid off because you want to provide this hero pay to grocery store workers? Come on. We got to stop. We got to stop and think about the unintended consequences of what we're doing. And that, my friends, is what is not happening. So, my daughter says you guys can't hear the dinging from the text messages from all my kids. Maybe it's just coming through my headphones and driving me crazy. Maybe that's what it is. All right. So that's all I had on hero pay. Just kind of irks me a little bit for the city council in LA to commission a report. The report says the companies can't afford it. It's going to cause loss of jobs and store closures. And the city council does it anyway. Congratulations. That is spectacular, if you ask me. All right, I have some fun videos. I have a Did You Know segment lined up here for you today. Do you guys want to see it? These are stories that I see. They're videos. They're funny, or they're interesting, or they're shocking, or whatever else. And I realize if you're listening on the podcast that some of these are video oriented, and I apologize for that. The best way to solve that problem is to go back to my Facebook page tomorrow and watch the videos that you hear on the podcast. But I still want you to hear about them. And so I am going to play them even if you're just listening. So we call this segment, hang on, let me get to the right place here. We call this segment, Did You Know? Again, these are just videos, stories that you may have seen. I've had some of these for a few days now, so I apologize if you've already seen them, but I think they're worth a mention and worth discussing again. And we knew that this was coming. In fact, I've been predicting the entire time as the vaccines come out that there were going to be those who try to misrepresent whether or not they've had the vaccine. There's going to be those who try and sneak in line to get the vaccine. Well, this happened in Florida with these two women who were caught posing as grannies to jump the line for the vaccine.
You know what you have done? You've stolen a vaccine from somebody that needs it more than you. And now you're not going to get your second one. So that's a whole waste of time we just wasted here on this. And we're not even sure if they're going to press charges against you and take you to jail right now. So we're at that point right here. But just for your selfishness of stealing a vaccine.
This is a trespass warning. You're hereby warned that you are not authorized, licensed, or invited to be in these premises and may be arrested if you refuse to leave or return at any time in the future. It's this building, it's our other building, it's our site.
Parking garage.
Everything.
Anything, the whole property around here.
I don't know if you can see the wig that one of these women is wearing, the fake wig. It looks like it's made out of yarn. This was a very feeble attempt, and they did actually get their first shots.
I'm not allowed to be here no more.
You would never be around.
It's ridiculous that you're here right now.
You are so sorry.
So your information is going to be flagged with the vaccine software. Okay. So
You're Martha.
You guys try and do this
Here's your
again.
copy.
You're not going to get a vaccine. Okay. So you got to wait your turn.
Yes.
All right. So those are yours. Car keys. You're going to get a copy of each one of those. If you come back, anytime you're going to be arrested. Any question about that?
No, that's not.
You're lucky not being arrested right now.
Sorry, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
Unbelievable. They should have arrested him. They should have arrested them. Unbelievable. And then we have this. If you're wondering what kind of coverage you might be missing if you're not watching Newsmax, I was just flipping channels and I happened across a discussion about a concern about somebody in the White House. And it was such a concern that they actually took the time to bring on a White House historian to find out if this individual in the White House has been treated properly. You tell me if this is worth the airtime or not.
Did you see the dog? I want to show you something I noticed. Doesn't he look a little rough? I love dogs, but this dog needs a bath and a comb and all kinds of love and care. I've never seen a dog in the White House like this. I remember Buddy, I remember Millie, I remember lots of dogs, but not a dog who seems, I don't know how much love and care he is getting. Let's bring in the historians. I'm having fun with this, obviously, but I do want to talk about some stuff. Craig Shirley, Reagan biographer, presidential historian. Craig, welcome back. And Doug Weed, presidential historian, former advisor to George H.W. Bush. That's the White House where I remember Millie. Millie had like a staff, and they really took care of her. Very beautiful dog. This dog looks like from the junkyard. And I love that dog, but he looks like he's not been well cared for.
No, not at all. Thank you for having us. No, he looks very dirty and disheveled and very unlike a presidential dog like Millie or Victory or something else in the past in the White House.
Very unlike a presidential dog. And we're going to bring on two historical experts to talk about the White House dog. Did he look that disheveled to you? Didn't look that disheveled to me. And some breeds, they just look that way. No matter what you do to them, they just look that way. That's the level we're at right now, talking about the White House. This is a service that I think should be brought to the United States. This is called, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but this is a Dorazoku map in Japan. I'll show you the map. See if you can guess what it's for. So you can see the map of Japan, and there's little icons, there's circles, and they're in different colors, and they're over different cities. Orange, yellow, green. Can you guess what this is a map for? It's called, again, a Dorazoku map. Hang on, I'm going to do something here quick. Any guesses on what this map is for? Maybe it's for air quality. Maybe it looks like an air quality map. How about maybe weather? No. Population? Any other guesses? Well, if you click on one of these icons, it will zoom in and it will share with you more than 6,000 locations across Japan where you'd be likely to encounter noisy kids or adults. This is, I'm calling this the get off my lawn map. When you've become that guy and you don't want to be around children. So clicking on the icons reveals the nature of the nuisance, from children playing noisily with balls to adults engaging in marathon gossip sessions. Primary school children are always playing and romping around the streets, causing trouble to people living nearby. These are all submissions that you can go on and you can log in and you could submit places where there are noisy adults or children. And you can just avoid them. Again, the get off my lawn map, if you ask me. And then this, remember that scene in Harry Potter? I should have had it ready for you. When Harry breaks his arm and then the guy goes to magically fix the arm and it's like the bone just disappears. Well, there is new technology from MIT that they're working on that would actually, and they took him in and they regrew the bone, remember? We might actually be able to 3D print a bone while it's still in the arm. Listen to this, very cool technology.
The first example of integrating ceramic materials that emulate many aspects of native bone with live cells. This really opens up the opportunity where you may be able to actually directly print a patient's bone within a cavity. And so what I mean by that is during surgery, if they have some bone resected for disease or if they have a tumor taken out, then we can actually take scans of that bone and then put that onto the printer and then directly print within a cavity of a patient with their own cells being there. And those cells then may be able to engraft and form native bone naturally. And that's going to speed things up with respect to surgery time. It's going to enable a lot of reduction in current suffering and also perhaps, hopefully, ultimately, save lots of lives.
Isn't that amazing? 3D print the bones right there during surgery using the DNA and other information from the body. That is so cool. That is so cool. And then I'm sure you saw this story. Maybe you didn't. I've seen it several times and I know the outcome of the story. When I first saw it, we didn't have the outcome, but I know now what's happened to all of these school board members. Did you catch this story? School board members on a Zoom call that they think is private, but it's not. It's public. And they decide to engage in a conversation about some of the parents that they have to deal with as school board members. There is some language in this video. If you have young ones listening, you might want to mute it for just a second.
Just to encourage you.
Yeah.
People, it's easy to hide behind a screen and put in comments now. But when you're face to face with people, it's a whole different ball game.
Well, what's funny is that she's friends with who I went to Idle Tower, and it was posted on my social media. Someone else posted it. It's like, whatever. I wasn't doing anything bad. I honestly don't care about that part. But you know what? Are we alone?
Yeah.
Bitch, if you're gonna call me out, I'm gonna fuck you up. Sorry, that's just me.
You know, they forget that there's real people on the other side of those letters that they're writing.
Yes.
We're real community members. We have kids or have known kids that have gone to these schools.
Right.
Have an vested interest in this process, and they don't know what we do behind the scenes. And it's really unfortunate that they want to pick on us because they want their babysitters back.
Right.
Right. That's how I feel.
I agree, and it's fine. It's just I just need to get.
Yeah, so there were parents watching the Zoom call, and of course, the video got shared and recorded and shared and shared and shared. And at first, the members of the school board tried to excuse it away, and then ultimately, they all resigned. Every last one of them. They are no longer on the school board. That, by the way, is in Oakley, California. So if you're in California and you want to run for school board, there's a few openings out there. And then finally, this story, this is out of, this is out of Ecuador, I believe. There is a news station out on the street. They're conducting an interview. The reporter's there in front of the camera. And all of a sudden, they are approached by a man with a gun who demands their phone and their wallet. And this individual is not messing around.
Teléfono. Ahí está mi teléfono. Echa tu madre, vete a fumar. Echa tu madre, cualquiera lo le meto más. Llama a la policía. Sí, saca la cámara, saca la cámara.
So he grabs their phone and their wallet, runs away, and then they get video of him riding away on a motorcycle or a scooter or something. Right in front of the TV news cameras. It all goes down. And of course, he's wearing a mask. I don't know if they've been caught, but I thought that pretty brazen. And I've done several recordings and news stories out on the streets in my day, and even when we were out doing a remote broadcast, which we did a lot, we'd broadcast our show from a restaurant or from a business or something like that. And we would typically have one person between us and the entire crowd. And I remember one time, this was way back in the early days of my radio career. So probably 18 years ago, it was an indoor flea market. And I was doing my show, and the indoor flea market decides that they want to broadcast my show through the whole indoor flea market while it's going on. And I'm like, are you sure you want to do that? Because my show is political. And so I'm going to be expressing political opinions, and, not all of your customers are going to like what I have to say because it's politics. And they're like, oh, no, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. So I don't remember the topic that was going on, but I was definitely passionate that day, and I start going off. And this guy comes up, and he plows through the guy, through my one protector, and gets in my face, puts his finger touching my face, and starts swearing at me at the top of his lungs about what I was saying on the air. And fortunately, some other store security came around and had him removed. I have no idea where that would have ended up. But when I walked out of the parking lot that day, when I left the broadcast, I was certainly watching my back, doing any type of news reporting in the streets. And we see clips like this. You can see them on YouTube all the time. Just bystanders coming up and grabbing the mic or getting in the way. And of course, we saw that one incredible tragedy it was in Virginia, wasn't it? Where a man came up and actually shot the reporter on live TV. So in today's world of, and this is why when somebody calls you the enemy of the people, when they use inflammatory language against a certain organization and things like that, those words matter. And these are real people on the other ends of that thing. And I know that I went on a long journey there from just somebody getting robbed at gunpoint, but that's what stream of consciousness, that's what ran through my mind as I saw that happen. But thankfully everybody was okay. And again, I don't know if they caught the person. So that is Did You Know? That's everything I had planned for you. Kind of a shorter podcast. I just wanted to talk about hero pay, as the United States government is talking about minimum wage, and see if we can draw some parallels. Please take a minute and scan that QR code that you can see on the screen. It's actually called a flow code. Become a patron of this broadcast so that I can bring it to you more often, so that we can interview more guests. We can do a bigger deep dive on the issues that you want to talk about. It's not cheap to bring you this broadcast, so just helping me cover some of my base expenses would go a long way. Scan that QR code with your camera, just take a picture, and it'll take you right to my website where you can become a patron, either a one-time donation or a monthly donation. Or you can also just go, you can see all my social media contacts there at the bottom of the screen. Just go to jaymcfarland.com and you can learn how to do it there, and also learn about all of the other projects that I have going on. And one of those projects, and I'm still working on it, so I know some of you have been asking, we've been trying to figure out if there's a place where we Republicans who are not happy with the lack of civility in our government right now and in our party, where we can go to try and make a difference within the party. And I don't think the answer is to start another party. I think that just divides conservative power. But I think that there's got to be a reformation of the Republican Party. And so I have several meetings this week and next week. We're formulating a plan. Many of you have expressed interest in being part of whatever we come up with. So stay tuned, and I hope by the middle of next week to have some more information for you. With that, thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful day. Please take a minute and like and subscribe and share what you've seen today. Help me spread the word and fearless honesty to everybody that you know. And with that, I hope you have a wonderful night.